What's up, guys? mcstu here, and today we have an update in Star Trek Online. This is something that some players have been requesting and looking forward to for quite a long time. And what we're going to do is take a look at what that is, why you might want to do it, what the cost is, and when this will be available. So what they have announced is that we are going to have the ability to purchase Captain Alteration Tokens. This will start on the 28th with the release of the Unparalleled update or expansion. The cost on it, we'll just get kind of the basics out of the way here. The cost on it, it's going to be 750 Zen per token, or a bundle of 3 for 1500 Zen. And they will be running a sale 20% off when they are released starting on the 28th. And that sale will run up through the 11th. So that should, if you buy a bundle, that would put you at around 1200 Zen, if my math's correct there. So let's talk about what this allows you to do and what it doesn't allow you to do. So first off, you have to complete the tutorial in order to use it, and you also must have picked a faction if you are one of the, this is weird the way they have this notated, because you want to choose a faction, but if you choose Romulan or you choose Dominion, you have to pick a faction, right? So call this factions, and then we'll just call it KDF or Fed. So if you are a character that has to choose Fed or KDF after a certain point in the storyline, you must get to that point before you can make that use one of these tokens. So let's say you've just rolled a character and it's a Romulan, and you want to change the Romulan from male to female, or you want to change the race, say, to a Reman, then you would need to make sure you progress far enough in the storyline to the point where you pick either Federation or KDF, and then you're able to do that. So those are basically your kind of hard requirements at the start, the most basic ones. In terms of what you can change to, you can only change to something that is sub to your faction, I guess is how I'll put it. So what that means is, let's say you have a Fed character, and let's just say, it's this female here, and and it's a human. So you have a Fed human. You can only change it to either a male, or since that's the only other one in terms of sexes, but you can change to any of these races that are here. So you Tellarite, Trill, Vulcan, Alien, you can change to any of these. I've unlocked playable Klingons for the Fed side, so I can change mine to a Klingon, but if you haven't unlocked this would not be available. So what you couldn't do with this example is you couldn't change it to an Orion, right? Orions are a race that are specific to the KDF. So if we look at KDF, and let that load, and we go forward here. So there's a whole different set of races that you can be other than Klingon. So what you pick is going to be confined to what is available to that specific faction, okay? So again, I couldn't change my Klingon character here to a human. So you are locked into whatever races are available within your particular faction. And that is also true if you have, say, a TOS Starfleet character. You would only be able to change between human, Andorian, Tellarite, Vulcan. You would not be able to change this to a human that's not 23rd century. Okay, so I hope that makes sense in terms of the limitations that you would run into. Some of the other just kind of notes that they have put out is, in some cases, all your traits, your personal space traits, personal ground traits will most likely be wiped out, especially if the number of slots changes based on what you decide to choose. Also, depending on what race you change to, or the sex, if you change the sex, your costumes, if you have costumes saved, those may not translate properly. And what'll happen is it'll just default to whatever the default costume is for it, and you'll have to go and rebuild that. So those are some of the CYAs when you go to switch. So, if you had a human and you were going to go to, a playable Klingon, you might find that some of the costumes that you've put together for that human aren't going to work properly on the Klingon. Now let's talk about why you might want to do this, or why I am probably going to do this, at least on my main. I'll probably get a bundle so I can kind of test it out, and with the sale, I think it's probably worth it. But on my free-to-play, even if I had the Zen, probably not going to do it, okay? Now, let's look at why I would want to do this on my main here. Now, one of the reasons I might not want to is because I have a lot of costumes I put together, and that's going to kind of be a bummer. I think some of this might translate, but whatever. The main reason that I would do this on my main here is that when I originally created this, my main character, which way back, didn't know anything about the game. And since then, I've got into, high-end builds, different things like that, and I like to min-max, okay? He's a human. He is upgraded, so he has the Captain Upgrade token applied to him, which gave him an extra personal space and personal ground trait, so I have a total of 10 of these available to me on this character now. But if we were to jump over to my free-to-play character, he is an alien. And aliens by default start with 1 extra personal space and personal ground trait. So this free-to-play player, who also has the Captain upgrade to it, so it's gotten an extra trait from that as well, still has more traits at 11 compared to my Federation character. So that is a reason from a performance standpoint that you might want to consider, doing this. So if you have a human or anything that's not an alien, you can switch it to an alien. All the factions have those available with the exception of the Jemadar and also I believe the TOS characters. There's a couple that don't, and you can check, within the character creator to see who has what. But in the case of, my main, taking him from a human to an alien is going to be a performance boost for me because I'm going to now get an extra trait slot. Because both of these characters have the same upgrades and everything applied to them, but alien characters by default just get these extra ones. It was nice when they added the Captain upgrade tokens because that allowed us to get that extra slot, but you could also apply them to aliens, so they still ended up being 1 slot ahead of basically any other race that's in the game. So from a mechanic standpoint or a utility standpoint, that would be the reason that you might want to go and do this, because now you have an extra ground and an extra space trait. So I will be doing that for sure on my main account because he's a human, and if I make him an alien, I'll get that extra slot, and that'll give me a boost to the performance that I can do on space and on ground. I am not going to need to do this on my free-to-play because when I made him a alien to start with. So for me, that's not necessary. I don't really care about the genders and all that kind of stuff. I do like my space Barbie a little bit, but not enough to spend money and change it, to have the head look different, right? Because with all their gear on, that's really all you can kind of see. I will say also with the aliens, the nice thing about those is I have KDF aliens that you have all the same pieces. You can make them look like Klingons. Same thing, you can make them look like humans. You can make them look like Romulans. That's why I really like the aliens as well, because you can just make them look normal still. So it gives you a lot more flexibility. So the only other reason that you would want to use that, that someone might want to use that, would be purely for aesthetics. So if you had a male character and you wanted it to be a female, or you just like the look, maybe your main is a human like mine, and since you started playing, you've unlocked other playable races. So there's a number of playable races that you can unlock through the C-Store and through different events and doing different things in the game, and by completing those, it unlocks the ability of, if you make a new character, you can make them into these other species that are not available by default. The cat race, I can't remember the name of it, but that's one of them. So if you have a character you've had for a long time, and since you had created it, you've unlocked these other races, and you really want that older character to now be one of these new unlocked races that you have, you can use one of these tokens to go ahead and change it to that race. But again, anything other than going, from any race to an alien is going to be just a purely aesthetic thing. If you currently have an alien and you want to make it some other race, that will have a utility reduction because you will lose that extra trait slot. All right, so I think that makes it pretty clear. I hope it does. there were a couple other CYAs that they had that I just want to make you guys aware of. So they talk about down here that once you start the process, you'll do it in the tailor. So you'll go to the tailor. If you have some of these tokens in your inventory, there'll be a button that's there that you can click. It allows you to make the changes, configure, do all those things, but they're not permanent until you get all done and you click go ahead. So you can start, checking it out, playing with it, but as long as you don't finalize it, you can cancel it and come back to it later. If you finalize it, that's permanent, at least in terms of permanent, like you can't undo it without using another token. So let's say I don't know, somehow you pick the wrong thing and you finalize it and it's done and it's changed, you will not be able to change back or to the other thing that you wanted to change to without utilizing another token. So make sure you keep that in mind when you're going through that. But it will be kind of a process that you go through in the tailor to make those adjustments. And then once you're done, it'll have you confirm it and then it'll move forward. So not game breaking or anything, but nice little quality of life thing. I mean, it is another monetization deal, but I mean, that's how this game is wired. It's just the way it is. So, I'm not going to complain about that at this point after so many years. But I am excited about being able to take, an older character like this and switch it over to an alien that'll give me a performance upgrade. Other than that, like I said, I most likely am not going to be doing anything else, with the exception of maybe, because I'll probably get the bundle, so I might switch over my Gemidars to Vanguards. I don't know if that really gets me anything, though. To be honest with you, I haven't used a Vanguard since it's been unlocked on my account. If there is an advantage to that, let me know down in the comments. If Vanguards are better, then I know like bridge officers that are Vanguards are better, but I don't know about the actual captain itself. If they get an extra trait slot, I'm not sure. So let me know if you know about that. If you had Vanguards or use them, if there's any advantage to switching. I think they look cooler, so I'll probably use at least one on one of my Gemidars just to check it out. So let me know what you guys think. I hope that was clear. I'll link the blog post down in the description. It goes into great detail to explain essentially, what going to the new character creation screen is, clicking on a faction and saying that you can pick, or change between any of these races that are contained within the particular faction. So can't change factions, can't change classes. Real important to know there. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Is this something you're excited about? Are you going to pick up any of these tokens? There's going to be a lot going on next week with the expansion, some new TFOs. Looks like they threw in a new Borg TFO, like a Kobayashi Maru style, so I'm excited to kind of check that out. So it should be a good week next week as long as servers stay working good. So all the fingers crossed. All right, guys? All right, till next time, appreciate you watching. Have a good one. Hey guys, appreciate you watching. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, ring the bell, and sub to the channel for the latest news updates and how-to guides.